shame, not wanting to identify as having symptoms or illness, especially in the spiritual community, because of this shame. And it's interesting because a lot of the conversations I was having with people, I was experiencing the same thing, but I wasn't talking about it. And even in some of the conversations I was having, I was noticing myself not wanting to share my experience as well, and not from like a place of not like disclosing personal information about myself or having boundaries. It was like the shame, like the real piece of shame around, if I'm a coach or I'm a spiritual healer or I'm a, teacher and people look up to me, then I need to meet some sort of criteria or be in some sort of box that like I've got it all figured out. And so illness, diagnoses, symptoms, like I was like, not me.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Don't want to go there.
You. That's not me. I'm not going there. And even now there's resistance, even though I'm talking about it more, there's still a resistance. And so when we were chatting, I was like, I think this is an important conversation to have, because if I'm silently suffering, then I know other people are silently suffering. And what does it look like when we start to out this conversation and have real talk about what this can mean, right? So I'm just excited to be here and be sharing this platform with you, because you're so knowledgeable and you're helping people in a way that I don't think everyone is seeking out because of the shame. And so I want to kind of silence that.
Yeah. And I think, in my experience with clients, a lot of people have a tremendous amount of symptoms, and like family, friends kind of know there's stuff going on, but there's so much more levels to it than people are even sharing with really close loved ones, because like they're putting on a happy face for their kids, or they're going to work and like suffering through symptoms. And a lot of the symptoms that people are experiencing, you can't see them. Right. And just because you can't see those symptoms doesn't mean that they're not real, or that people aren't really struggling. And, so like mental health issues, anxiety, depression, migraines, fatigue, adrenal fatigue, like a whole host of things that you can't see at all. Mm-hmm. And so like, and especially if you've had any experiences in your past where you were like shamed for saying that, or like you had these symptoms and people didn't believe you because they couldn't see them. They're like, oh, you're just being lazy. Oh, you're just whatever, like get up and do what you're supposed to do, go to work. And so if you've had those experiences, then like you don't want to share what you're going through, because it's too painful to be made to feel bad about symptoms that are already really affecting you.
Yeah.
And sometimes those symptoms also aren't like so physically painful, but they're all very emotional symptoms too. So for women, like not having a regular period, like that can be very, especially if you're thinking about a family, like not a symptom anyone can see, not something like that is like painful or feeling, but emotionally super painful and draining. So there's just such a whole range of suffering under the surface that people who don't want to identify with their illness, or are super identified with their illness, or whatever it is, are just dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's interesting, because when I think back on my own story, my health journey and my wellness journey, and for a long time, part of my story was there was a lot of underlying emotional things going on for me that manifested into physical symptoms. Chronic pain, migraines, anxiety. And I would go to the doctor, 15, 20 years ago, and I would literally be like, diagnose me with something. Give me a label that will help me make sense of what I'm feeling and experiencing. Because it was a lot of unseen, right? It wasn't like I didn't have like a big giant bruise on my arm or something like that, right? It wasn't like a symptom that you could see, but like there was an internal thing going on. And then I got really, like you said, I got so wrapped up in the diagnoses that like it almost became my identity. And then I would use it as a way to get through life. I can't do that because of this, or I can't have this thing because of that, right? And then I went to the whole other extreme. Then it was like I was completely unidentified, but then I didn't want to admit whenever anything didn't feel right. And I hid for a very long time with things that were going on with me, to the point that it led to like massive, massive burnout. And, you know, at the end of, wasn't last year. I'm like, what year are we in now? We're halfway through 2020, everyone. It was the end of 2018. I got extremely sick and was in and out of the hospital, was put on bed rest. And it was this wake up call for me. And while I was sick, I was hiding it. My husband knew, obviously, some close family, a few friends, but I wanted nobody else to know what was going on. So I would still post my peppy self on Instagram and Facebook, and I wouldn't cancel my client calls because there was so much shame around, I'm not allowed. Like, I'm not allowed. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want people to know. They're going to think of me differently. They're going to judge me. They're going to think I'm less than. I'm a spiritual coach. That was like the story I kept telling myself. Spiritual coaches aren't allowed to be sick. They're not allowed to, you know, and I was actually perpetuating the illness, by not acknowledging what was really going on and taking care of myself in the way that I needed to take care of myself.
Yeah, so like a level of denial and resistance to it's denial and resistance to like the messages that your body is sending you.
Yes.
You like, things are out of balance. Okay, so here's like a bunch of symptoms to let you know that I'm really out of balance and like I need some healing. And yeah, we can get into denial and resistance for so many different reasons. And even then, once you embark on the healing journey, a lot of people are either like so hyper focused on the food and the supplements, and they're like being so rigid in the way they're eating, and they're taking like 20 supplements a day, and they're in such a high level of stress. And then I see other people who are so focused on the emotional and spiritual aspects of healing, and they're meditating and they're taking courses and they're working with their coaches and they're going to therapy and they're doing, and like, but missing the physical piece, right? So it's like all of this stuff needs to be integrated, because the symptoms, again, this is like two schools of camp, right? And I see this a lot in the spiritual world, like all symptoms are psychosomatic and we've like created it, and so we can shift it all with energy. Or in the world that I originated from, which was like nutrition medical, like everything is just a physical imbalance and we need food and supplements or medications to fix it.
Right.
And so, but it's really about integrating all of that and really making the healing truly, truly holistic, because yes, there's emotional components and there's stressors, and yes, there are nutrient deficiencies and physical imbalances and toxins and pathogens. And so if you're stuck in one camp or the other, your healing is going to be slow and painful and stagnant. Like when you really start to integrate all of them, then you don't have to be quite as strict with food, and you definitely don't need to take as many supplements, and maybe you don't need to be like reliving all the trauma and all the experiences and like working it through the mind over and over and over and over and over again. Like when you can bring it all together and just support the body's natural healing mechanisms, that's where the miraculous healing really comes in. And that's where you're tuning back into the messages your body is sending through. So like, I don't think I said, Andee's an embodiment coach, which is all about getting back into our bodies, like keeping ourselves in our bodies so we can feel what we need to do, and we can move through emotion, and we can allow the energy channels to flow. And that's really what the food and the emotional and the spiritual work is all about, is integrating all of those things.
You know, it's interesting because you're hitting on something where I've been in both extremes. So
yeah, you have.
like, oh man, let me tell you, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on supplements a month. This is going to cure me, right?
Wow.
And then it's like, that's not working. So now I'm going to go all the way and I'm just going to meditate all day. If I just meditate all day, my symptoms are going to go away, right? And so, and this is what I have found. So at the end of 2018, realized, okay, there are things I need to change in my life. I need to set firmer boundaries. And so I was doing all of that, but the symptoms weren't necessarily going away. They were getting better, but they weren't necessarily going away. But I was like, okay, I've made progress. I'm good. You know, things are good. And then my hair started thinning more and more and more and more. And I've had hair loss issues in the past. So I was like, okay, this is just, maybe it's my cycle. I'm getting older. I'm almost 40. You know, it's like you start making up excuses because I was in such denial. Like, this is not happening again. And then literally it was like 3 or 4 days after we got like the California, like stay at home orders, like you can't leave your house, you know, all this stuff. So my stress is now heightened just because, right? Like, what does that mean? Oh my gosh, I'm high risk. Now all of a sudden I'm back in my diagnoses. I'm high risk. I could get like, I caught myself going into these stories and these patterns. And I'm in the bathroom and I go to comb my hair back and there's a bald spot about this big. You guys can't really see it because my hair is super curly today and it's starting to, but I have 3 of these on my head. So I have one here, I have one in the back, and then I have another one that's forming here. And I thought, oh my God. So immediately I get on telehealth and I hear the words alopecia. And I'm like, this is not the first time I've heard alopecia, right? So this wasn't like a new conversation for me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But it was this moment of, I'm not bridging what I know I need to do, because this is not alopecia. This is a symptom of something deeper. And I can hold on to that diagnosis and I can say, okay, I have alopecia. This was, and I started noticing hair falling out in other parts of my body. So I was like, all right, halt. This is not like, first I was going to shave my head. Then I'm like, no. Like, this is, I'm not owning this. I'm going to take it for what it is. And I'm going to dive deeper into what is really going on. And this is how the conversation started between you and I, because there is this component where I'm not bringing both healing modalities. I'm doing one or the other, and I'm getting a half-ass result. And I'm like, this is the time. And so I've been taking this real serious, without going into either extreme. And like, I am having hair growth. It's been 2.5 months. Like, there is hair, it's growing. Like, I'm like,
I can see them.
And even here, this is all new. This, I mean, I've been taking pictures. There's something powerful about when you finally make the decision.
Yes.
You know? So yeah, I just see so many people like, I don't know, one foot's here, one foot's there, feet are nowhere. And I'm like, I need to talk about this more, because so many of us silently suffer because of shame or fear, or we spiritually bypass by just doing spiritual work, or we just think the supplements and the diet and the food it's going to heal us without looking at what's underneath the symptom.
Yeah. I mean, my big thing is like, the body heals itself, right? Like, if you get a cut on your finger, you don't like the body just knows what to do to heal itself. Now, if you like rub dirt in it and get it infected, it's going to take longer to heal. If you clean it up and you put a Band-Aid on it and you're gentle with it, it's going to heal faster. But it's not like the Band-Aid healed the thing. The body heals itself. And so we need to like give the body the ideal environment for healing. And that doesn't just mean food, and it doesn't just mean supplements, and it doesn't just mean meditating and going deeper into therapy and energy work. It means doing all of it, because if you're eating a perfectly clean diet and taking all the right supplements, but your stress is through the roof, it doesn't matter. Like, you might as well just eat pizza and tacos, because like it doesn't matter if your stress is through the roof. So yeah, and if you're using spiritual healing techniques, which are obviously super powerful and wonderful, but if you're bypassing your issues, meaning like you're saying, I'm so happy, everything's so good, I'm doing all my positive affirmations, I'm, you know, staying in the light, like staying high vibe and blah, blah, blah. But on the inside, you're avoiding looking at what's really wrong and what's really hurting inside you, then that's also going to create physical symptoms, because you're not like, you're not embodied, you're not feeling into the truth of where you are in the moment. And there's nothing wrong with doing the shadow work and having physical symptoms and falling off your food protocol, and, you know, or taking a break from it, or whatever it is. Like, I just see all the experiences that we go through in every aspect of life as gifts and teaching tools. And so for you, alopecia is just another level of pushing you to deeper healing and pushing you to another level of your personal growth and spiritual expansion. And so when you can start to see your own symptoms and your struggles as gifts, totally changes the vibration and the way you look at healing, because then you go like, okay, this is a new task for me to master and work through, and it's not a punishment. It's not something you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong to manifest your illness, right? Like, we're all just working with the best tools we have at the moment. And so, and we need a little pain, which can come in physical form, to push us to our next level.
Right. Well, and it's funny because, like, so, you know, we've all been kind of home for the most part for the last, like, I'm like it's been like 78 days or something, right? And, you know, I travel a lot. So I travel a lot. I have a fast paced life. Like, I eat out a lot. Like, I'm out and about a lot. It's been my lifestyle. And so it's interesting because as this, like, realization or this hair loss really started at the beginning of, well, I mean, the hair loss isn't happening, but like the like, holy crap, like there's huge bald spots like the size of the palm of my hand on my head, started at the beginning of this, like, kind of stay at home orders. I thought, okay, this is the perfect opportunity, because I'm almost being, I don't want to say forced, because I don't feel like I'm being forced, but I'm in this opportunity right now to, like, slow down, stay at home, cook at home, you know, practice all of these things that I claim I don't have time for. I don't have time to cook every day. So I did 73 days of juicing, cooking my meals, eating at home, no takeout, really looking at even like how much food is processed, like just really like just being aware. Not perfect by any means, but well, well better than what was happening prior. And then allowing my spiritual practices to, the intention isn't like, I'm going to get in my meditation and I'm going to chant, or I'm going to do whatever it is to heal myself. Like, this is like going back to what I teach. Like, this is about being in the embodiment of what is up for me right now, and embracing, like you were saying, this as an opportunity and a lesson and a gift. And so I would have conversations. I have conversations every day with the bald spots on my head, and I talk to them and I love on them, and we rub oils and all the things. But I'm not doing any of the crazy, like, oh, go get the injections of this. I'm like, you know. And I also really had to step away from, because of course, then it's like, I'm Googling everything in the world about alopecia. And I'm like, I just am not going to buy into the belief that this is some sort of autoimmune thing where my body is attacking itself. Like, I just don't believe that to be true. Like, I just can't sign up for that class, you know? And so by me telling my body, you are strong, you are healing, but then supporting that with how I'm showing up in my practice, and then how I'm nurturing myself with the foods that I'm eating, the supplements that I'm taking, and the movement that I'm doing. And then just being open to like, what are you here to show me? Like, I was taking a walk the other day and I was just like, I feel so free. Like, in one of the more stressful times of my life right now, because this whole thing has been stressful. Travel plans have changed, plans for my business have changed. Like there's stress. So in a heightened time of stress, I feel the most embodied and the most free than I've ever felt. But I feel like it's the first time I'm taking real control, and I'm not letting the shame kind of dictate, right? Like it's like I've just completely unshackled myself from the shame, and I'm talking about this, and like that's a really big deal, because I was very identified. For those of you that don't know me, like my hair was like this thing. It's been this thing. It's been this ongoing thing in my life for many, many years, where I've been very identified to my hair. And I wore really long blonde mermaid extensions for many years to hide the thinning spots on my head. And to take that out and to say like, that I gotta put shame down. And how many of us with physical symptoms or illness or diagnoses are walking around like with an armor of shame that we don't even know exists, that's actually preventing us from fully healing. And I think that was the big thing for me. My skin has completely transformed. Like I should share some before and afters. My skin has completely transformed from what I was going through before the hair loss to now. My hair is growing in like 2 months. I have like this much hair, like more hair growth than I've like. RJ's like, I've known you for 10 years and you've never had hair right here. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I know. Like, what? Like, I'm not using any magical solutions. Like, it's wild to me.
There are no magical solutions. Like there aren't. If you're, this is an important thing. If you're going after a therapy that promises you an immediate fix, there's no such thing. It's either suppressing symptoms. It's just like with emotional healing. Like there's no instant fix for emotional healing. Sometimes you get a big shift, right? Same with the physical. But like there's no instant fix. And so anyone who's promising you like, oh, in 2 months you can drop X amount of pounds, in this amount of time you can clear up your skin.
Run.
Yeah. Whether in the like holistic world or the traditional medical world, like those are not real treatments. So there's this other component, I think, of being uncomfortable with the idea of being on a healing journey. And just the idea that we're looking for finish line. There's no finish. The finish line is when you die and you go back to wherever we came from, right? Like there's no finish line with the physical healing, because as soon as you get one thing cleaned up, then you go, oh, well now I want the next level. Now I want to go the next level of cleansing. Like I want to raise my vibration even higher by being able to tolerate a more raw plant-based diet. Like all the my peers who work really in the physical healing, like detox cleansing world, they're all cleansing and detoxing all the time. I haven't met a single person that's like, yeah, done, totally detox now. Like it doesn't exist. So it's the same there. So I think we have to get comfortable with being on the journey. And then as soon as you ground and you go like, I'm on the journey, then like the pressure's off to find the finish line. And so you just get to enjoy the moment, right? It's like sex. If you're just going after the finish line, it's really not that satisfying.
It's not that fun.
You want to enjoy the journey and the process of getting there. So it's the same thing. Like, don't be looking for a quick fix. Like I tell all my clients, the healing journey is at least physical for major symptoms is at least 2 years to 3 years. Like, we're not going to I'm not going to throw you supplements that are steroidal. Like you're, getting, people are saying steroid injections in your scalp. Like those are just suppressing symptoms. Those are not healing the root cause. Those are actually creating further imbalance because you're bypassing the healing process. And so under the surface, things are getting festering, right? underneath the surface, those wounds, physical, emotional, spiritual, are festering. And so get comfortable with being in the process. And I think that's a huge component. You just were like, all right, I'm just in this strange, uncomfortable quarantine place. So I'm going to take this as an opportunity and work with it. And that's been my journey through quarantine as well. Like, I went through a separation with my spouse and moved and, you know, figured out custody of my child and all of this crazy stuff. So I've been on a big emotional purge that's been coming for a long, long time, but I'm using the opportunity for healing. And for me, the journey of quarantine has also been very therapeutic and healing and super stressful. Like at moments at the beginning, there were those moments of stress where you feel completely out of control and the rug got ripped out from under you. But as things are settling into a different normal, I feel so empowered and so grateful for what I've been through. And just, it's like just another phase of being like, okay, I'm in the healing. What is quarantine bringing up for me emotionally that I need to address? Like deeper fears, deeper ego triggers. So yeah, just be in the journey. Healing is not linear. You don't get from
Right.
point A to point B. There's a lot of steps backwards. There's loop-de-loops. There's spins. Like there's all kinds of stuff. So again, I think when you can just accept that where you are is exactly where you need to be, and you're always being given these little opportunities and experiences to deepen your healing and take you to next levels, then you can just sit in it and just be okay with it. And then that is where you create the space for the body to do its healing, when you're just okay, because you bring the adrenals down, you get yourself grounded, and then you allow the healing process to take place rather than trying to push it or force it or make it happen. It's really about allowing.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And it's funny because, like, so many, at least people that I've been in conversation with, like, so many people just don't want to, like, talk about, I don't want to say admit, because it's like they just, it's hard to talk about. And so, you know, when this was all going, kind of starting for me, I'm like, my skin finally is clear. Now my hair's falling out. Like, what the F? You know, I'm like, okay, the chronic cough is getting better. Fantastic. Now the skin is healed. You know, it's like, I'm like, what is next? Like, really, right? But that's what you're speaking to. It's like, there's no destination, right? We're on this path, we're on this journey. And, you know, I said I was journaling about this like a month ago. And I was like, this is an opportunity for me to become an even more embodied facilitator and healer and coach. And it's an opportunity also to use my platform to speak on something that can hopefully help somebody else feel safe enough to speak about, or seek out, right? Seek out the guidance or the assistance or the support that they need to support their own healing without being ashamed of it.
Yeah.
You know, because not talking about it is just as dangerous as spiritually bypassing.
Totally.
It's the same thing. So for me to continue, you know, I like bought all these wigs and like got all these hair pieces, and like I wear them because they're fun. But like to be able to say, like, this is my hair and underneath the frizz is some bald spots and I'm healing, and to feel okay about that is, to me, that in and of itself is more powerful than anything else, because it hopefully gives somebody else an opportunity to say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with too. And then that chills the body out.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I think just me outing myself, when I outed myself like a month and a half ago, or however long ago it was, and I did it like in small chunks. I did it with like a small community first, and then I like went bigger and bigger. It was like, that in of itself was like, my adrenals were like, whoo, like, you're safe. Like, oh shit. Yeah. It's all right.
Putting a name to something and speaking it, there's such a freedom in that. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, this is like my like a huge thing I focus on with my clients is it's not about like perfection or achieving some level of whatever you're going after, or like adhering to a set of rules, because there's no rules for like healing and spiritual expansion. Like everyone's so unique and different, and so we just really have to follow our own paths. Like there's obviously things that are supportive and not supportive to healing on all levels, right? But within, you know, within that, there's like a lot of fluctuation in gray area. And so yeah, just being really open and honest about like what works for you and what doesn't. And you know, in the world that I spend a lot of time with, medical medium protocols, which I've seen to be extraordinarily powerful healing information, there's a level of rigidity that I struggle with and that I don't push my clients to stick to, because it's adrenalizing. It creates a level of stress. And so like being honest about where you're at, what works for you, what doesn't, not having shame around not being able to do certain things on your healing journey. Like, you know, whatever that, like, I still want to eat meat a couple days a week. Like, fine, go for it. I still want to eat grains. I don't want to juice every day. Like, you can still heal without like getting locked into rigidity and rules. And it's because when you are following your flow, you're embodied, you're grounded, the central nervous system is calmed down. And so, yeah, just being honest with yourself first, and then being honest with the people around you, it opens up energy channels, and it activates the immune system, and it lowers stress, and it brings more feelings of wellness. And that's how you heal.
Yep. 100%. So good.
So however you're, you know, you can be doing all the cleansing and detoxing, and it's a form of bypassing, because you're not addressing the real root issue, which is like underlying stress, which is avoiding dealing with something, you know, or people who are overeating and binge eating, and struggling to stay on like a healing path. You know, it's in other ways that the body is just coping with stress. And so yeah, it's all about bringing the nervous system down, supporting the adrenals and the whole hormonal system. Yeah, it's all about really being true to yourself and faithful to yourself, and then bringing in the little pieces that you need to support healing, bringing in the band-aids. But like, you know, yeah, stress is a big dirt in the wound that slows down healing. So any way that brings you into alignment with your truth lowers your stress level and helps you heal.
Yeah. Yeah. And being aware too, like for me, stress was my homeostasis, you know, like being stressed was the norm. So it's like even that, like even just noticing that, like how addicted I was to that, and then saying, wow, you know, it's chemical
Totally
addiction in the body, you know.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we get addicted to our own adrenaline.
yep.
And it's
So,
encouraged in our society, and it's
yep.
encouraged in the coaching online business world.
Yep. Yeah.
Do more, work harder, post more, and
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's been, I'm in lots of recoveries of lots of things, work addiction recovery, lots of recovery. And I think where I'm at right now is, I'm recovering from my own addiction to my own adrenaline, my own stress, high levels of stress, and how that would fuel and feed me. And being brave enough to talk about that to hopefully prevent other people from going through the same thing, and saying, like, I need both. This isn't just a path of like nutrition and wellness, and it isn't just sitting on my cushion and doing more spiritual practice. It's about saying these two things need to come together, and people need to be okay to talk about what their experiences are, because it could save somebody, you know?
Totally. And to bring it back to your point about like stress and autoimmunity, adrenaline is so insanely caustic in the body. Like it puts your body into this state where it's going to exhaust every single fuel source it has because it thinks you're in the possibility of losing life.
Yeah.
So nothing is spared. And so that, you know, in the world that I work in, that adrenaline is super caustic to the hair follicles. And so that will burn them and the hair won't grow anymore. So, and to bring it back to the autoimmunity point, like I do not resonate with that at all. And with the information that I work with, like there is no way your body would ever attack itself. It couldn't. It's a theory that was developed decades ago. And unfortunately, what has happened is, I mean, there's hundreds of autoimmune conditions now where we don't know, you know, science doesn't know the cause of them. So they just get lumped in the autoimmune category. And like, I had psoriasis, which I thought was autoimmune for over a decade. And now I don't have psoriasis anymore. I don't have a single spot of psoriasis anymore. And my body was never attacking itself. I never needed to use topical steroid creams. Those were just suppressing symptoms. I just focused on getting my adrenals healthy, getting my liver healthy, and reducing pathogens, which are really, you know, in the autoimmune theory, they look for antibodies. And, you know, with the medical medium information, he says that those antibodies are to pathogens, not to your own tissue, which like bing, bing, bing makes perfect sense. We just haven't identified those pathogens yet. And so that's how I treat people. I work with enhancing people's immune systems, not assuming that the immune system is attacking itself and then further suppressing it.
Right.
That like we need our immune systems, especially for instances like what's going on with COVID-19 right now. Like we need super strong, highly active, powerful immune systems. That should be a focus every single day, is supporting your immune system. So yeah, I want to touch on that because I totally agree and resonate. And I think that's a very new concept for a lot of people. And I was so psyched when I heard you say that because I think that is finally information that is starting to trickle into the world. And you had a great intuition around that. And
I was just journaling one day and it was like, I was just, and I'm like, my body is not attacking it. Like, it was like, it came through. I'm like, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't believe that. Like, that's not what's happening. And if I buy into that, and that's what I start telling myself, oh, no way, no way, right? So
it's a way to blame your physical, it's a way, I'm just going to say it, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a way for doctors to blame your physical symptoms on you. So, because when they don't know how to fix it and they don't know what caused it and they have no answers for you besides immunosuppressive drugs, it blames it on you. It's your fault that your body is faulty and there's something wrong with it. And that is not the case at all.
Right.
There are pathogens and toxins that are messing, and toxic heavy metals that are messing up our systems. And so when we get rid of that stuff, the body's natural healing methods kick back online and symptoms go away. It's so powerful. Like I have no doubt that you're going to fully grow all your hair back and probably have more than you had 20 years ago.
I believe that. And I'm like, it's really weird but I believe that. I like really, truly believe that. Like, it's really wild. Like even right now, my hair, it's very thin, but it's fuller than I've seen it in years, which is weird. It's just weird. It's a weird thing to like have new hair growing that you haven't had growing in 20 plus years.
Yeah,
like,
totally. I had that
in 2 months.
I have the pictures of me with like hair like this, like growing back in, and I'm like, I didn't even know I could grow this hair back. Like, how cool.
I mean, this has been like this bald spot that's growing in right now. This has been like a thing where like I used to like put like makeup to make it look like hair was there. It's like for photos and stuff. I've had bangs. I mean, everybody knows I've had bangs for how many years? Why? Because it would cover this. It's mind blowing to me.
I had a dream the other night that I had bangs like you, by the way.
You should cut them. I will say, I cannot wait to be able to get my bang. I do love having bangs because I feel like they give a little bit of an edge. This hair, I'm ready for the bangs. We'll just let the natural color grow in, but the bangs, my bangs are like down to here right now. It's like, but
Yeah.
it's fine. No one sees me, so it's cool.
Yeah. All good. Whatever.
Yeah.
This lighting is very helpful for all the gray hairs that I have growing in, but whatever.
I also have noticed I have gray hair. I'm like, when did I get gray hair? Wow, this is amazing. So I'm just going with it. It's been kind of fun to let this like natural self come through, and it's very conducive to healing. So it's been good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just really, really appreciate you sharing your story because I just think it's so important for those of us who have an audience and work in the healing world to be really honest about what we're going through. Like I always talk about the fact that sometimes I eat off protocol. Like it happens when I'm in a lower vibration. I don't feel good. Food is my comfort. Food has always been an emotional thing for me. And so like I'm super honest about that. Like I'm just, I can't be one of those practitioners that like tells you, shames you for not doing what you're supposed to do, because I don't know what's right for you. I'm just here to guide you. I'm here to just channel through information that comes through for you and to help make you feel okay. I mean, my biggest role is to make you feel okay about where you are in your journey. That is my job, because when you feel confident and empowered, you heal no matter what you do. And so that's my biggest role. And that's why people work with me, because I have zero judgment, because I've been through it all. And, same thing for me with like going through this recent separation. And I have just no shame about it, because I don't have any expectation about what my life is supposed to look like anymore.
Right.
I just take every single day and every experience as a gift and a teaching tool. And of course I have moments of sadness and I have, hard days, but when you're really authentic with yourself, then it just, everything's okay. Like wherever you are is okay. And so I am fully on board with being really transparent about what's going on, and how I managed trying to keep a very boisterous 3.5-year-old on a plant-based diet when we went outside the other day and there was somebody was grilling and she goes, smell that? It smells like hot dogs. I want hot dogs. And I'm like, how do you know what a hot dog is? She wouldn't let it go. So I got to figure out some way to hot dog craving. So yeah, super
so funny
about like not being perfect. Like we're not perfect. You guys are not perfect. No one is perfect. It's not about perfection or creating the illusion of perfection, because that will eat your soul, because it's not true and it's not aligned. So it's just all about being honest with yourself first, and then when the time is right and you feel comfortable, being honest with your audience, peers, family, whoever it is that you speak to. So so thank you, Andee. I really appreciate that you're sharing this and opening up this topic of conversation, where my very nutrition-based people are really opening up to spirituality, and your very spiritual people are hopefully opening up to the idea that they didn't create symptoms for themselves, that there are real physiologic issues, and we need to combine all of it in order to create true healing.
100%. So good. I love this.
I know, right?
Awesome. Well, thank you for letting me share and for just doing the work that you do. It's so needed. So I know a lot of people, I know I'm going to share this out with my audience as well that's not in here watching. And I know a lot of them silently suffer and feel like the only way through is to just meditate more or pray more or journal more. And we have to be open to bridging and using both modalities. And so if there's anyone to guide you, it's you, Rachel. So
it's about truly becoming holistic,
Yeah.
A lot of us know we're more than our bodies, but the body is the vessel for the spirit. So we've got to take care of all aspects of it and not deny any of the truths that are coming through to us. As much as our ego or our logical brain doesn't like it, we've got to address all aspects. So, and I think it's important to say that, like, it doesn't have to be painful. Like,
Right.
shifting the way you eat doesn't have to be painful. Processing trauma doesn't have to be painful. You know, like, there's moments, but it can really be a very cathartic, soft, gentle, supportive process when you're doing it in the right way. And so, yeah, so no shame and no fear around making the changes and addressing those things. Like, it's all good. It's all what we're here to learn and do.
Amen to that.
All right. So I guess that wraps it up. And I don't know. I feel like we're gonna have like a round 2 of this maybe in the
I
next
know.
months. We see where we gotta get the before and after pictures.
I'll come with long, luscious, full hair. I have been documenting the journey. And I'll probably do something with it at some point, but yeah, it's been interesting. So I'll be excited to update you guys in a few months and see where I'm at.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty mind blowing, I bet. So
Yes. Oh, I am fully confident.
yeah. So
All
awesome. Well,
right.
thank you for having me. Thanks for everyone who joined and watched.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.